feel more open and creative in my car. I'm not really sure why. It feels like this like pod. Oh boy, on this episode of The Awareness, I've had an idea for years and it hasn't left me. It hasn't gone anywhere. So that's how I feel like I know that maybe it's something that is mine. It's supposed to be mine. It's good. All systems go. Green light. Let's just try it. See what happens. So I was just really quick. Sorry to cut to, but I was editing the video of me in the car and I just like so glazed over that this was an idea that I had had for years. I said it so, but I really want to hit that home because if you're a person out there who's had an idea and you're like, oh, I'll have so many other ideas, and then time goes on, but that idea just kind of like stays with you, and then you still don't do anything, you don't do anything, but then that idea just comes back around again, and then you keep ignoring it. Before you know it, 3 or 4 years goes by and you're like, wow, it's such a lesson on beginning, giving things a shot, trying at least, so you don't ever have to wonder about like, well, what if I had gotten started sooner? Or why is this idea still here with me? I think it's Naval Ravikant. He says that ideas are perishable, and I think some are, but special ideas that are like destined for you or designed for you, I don't think go anywhere. I think they haunt you. They haunt you until you give them the attention and try to grow and build on them. So I'm just gonna show you really quick. I was making this as like certain shots for my content. July 8th, 2019. See the awareness. How do I focus this? Look at that. So it's there. And then this was August 1st, okay? So then I still was trying to get myself going. August 1st, the awareness. It's just crazy when I look at it now. And I'm like, wow, it was just always there. And then I was organizing and I went and I bought a new journal because I use these same journals. And I just finished one. And I just opened one of my older ones. And this was on February 2nd, 2020, right? So then months later, I've got still, it was my last day at my job and it was the awareness, Madison Riley, still just there. All right, I think I've made my point, but as I was watching and editing my car video just now, I was like, wow, I just like threw that out there. Like, oh, I've had this idea for years. And then it was like, I didn't really nail it home just how much of the maybe like sadness I have felt is because I wasn't honoring certain ideas. Anyway, interesting. I don't know, man. Hang on. Sorry, it's starting to be hot in Texas. We're heading into summer, so. Now, the thing about this was when I first initially, I was like, the awareness, I was talking about myself. Because I have always, and I can say this as a very honest confession, I've always felt like an aware mess. It doesn't matter what chapter of my life, I have always felt like a bit of a mess. Not in a way that's like, oh, she's dysfunctional and tragic, but in a way where it's like, there's an awareness that I've always had that's added a layer of a lot of complexity when I've wanted it to be more simple. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But then I was a huge new ager. My entire 20s, I was my whole way of thinking and trying to be was very new agey and like mystical and law of attraction and universal forces. And so I was so terrified of manifesting messiness being a mess, calling myself a mess, kind of being self-deprecating in that way. And I would talk to people, and some people would be like, I love it. My best friend, she's like, no, I love it. It's relatable and it's true. And I'd be like, I know, right? It is. And then I had some other people that were like, no, yeah, because you don't want your brand to revolve around being a mess and messiness. So I just held off. I just kept holding off, avoiding it. But I'm at a point, I just turned 33. My last year really took me for a whirl in a lot of internal ways, where there was like a complete emotional and psychological renovation that had to go down, and it felt very messy. And then as I was reflecting on my whole life, I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I think it's always going to be a bit messy. When you enter a relationship, when you're learning how to maintain that relationship, when you're starting a creative pursuit, when you're trying to maintain just life, when you buy a home, when you move a city, when you try anything new, there is just this constant state of messiness. And you try to be aware of things while you're in the mess, as opposed to just dissociating and blacking out for a decade, which my mom said she did. And so I was like, is that why I think so much about everything? I don't know, probably. Anyway, so this is the aware mess. I'm an aware mess, and I'm owning that, you know, because as much as I am thoughtful, and I am a deep feeler and a truth seeker, and I search and try to understand, I get freaking exhausted with the information, and I'm like, how do you apply this really? And also I've realized, you know, how quickly, not how quickly, but how important it is to never allow the circumstances of life to steal your joy. Because joy is probably one of the most important things for me. And, you know, I felt like I got really disconnected from experiencing and allowing it to just like be for a long time, actually. And I take full responsibility for that. I'm just going to create whatever. The awareness is going to be just like whatever I feel like talking about, topics, you know, dating, especially because I'm really, really looking for a life partner, and I'm wanting to allow the right one that's a really great match. And until that happens, you know, you got to kind of become the person they're looking for. So, you know, there's a lot of work to be done. I don't know that many people, I don't know, spiritual confusion is a big thing. Really trying to get a grip on reality so you can align with it, instead of just like avoiding what really is. Because, you know, we do all have to share the space of this world, and that's where I would like to talk a lot about spiritual confusion. And, you know, I call myself a recovering New Ager, because a lot of those ways of thinking and the ways that programs you to view things, of course there are great things, just like in the same way religion has great things. You know, it helps with hope, faith, optimism, reframing, so that, you know, you can stay away from a victim mindset and you can overcome things, and you can seek higher ways of living and being and growing up. Growing up was another thing that I was like, because I was in the movie Grown Ups, and I've always been really into, you know, growth, not stagnation. I feel like I've been in a serious hole of stagnation for a couple years. So maybe that's why I'm using these microphones, because for such a long time I recoiled away from them because I didn't want pressure, and I kind of didn't want attention, even though part of me does. I would be lying if I said I didn't. But there's something about speaking into a microphone that feels kind of intimate. And if I start letting my jester come out again, woo, let's let it rip, let's crack some jokes. Let's let it run, let it ride. It's terrifying, honestly, because I've been a little bit more objective and observant, and I've like withheld my tongue a lot, and now I'm like, oh God, if I start creating again and making media, I'm gonna have to be saying some things that will invite some confrontation, I'm sure. But if there's anything that we've learned from the last couple years and what's went down with all the freaking scamming, it's that confrontation's okay, you know? Confrontation is actually just a part of life. It will happen. And if you never have a confrontation, then you're kind of, you're pleasing, which means you're sacrificing parts of yourself. So yeah, this is 8 minutes almost of me just talking out loud in my car. All right. God, freaking how sad every time that sound goes off. I'm gonna go to Lowe's with my sister because we're gonna work in the yard. We're gonna do yard work. Kind of want to learn about growth, see, growing. All right, so everybody, thank you for watching the awareness. I'll upload. Hopefully my uploads will be more consistent. Working on it. Bye.